And he swings, hits it high and deep and gone. Still going back. Oh! Out of here. Welcome to the big leagues.
Deep to center field, and it is gone.
Wow, his first big league swing is going to be a grand slam, a home run. Swing and drive. Belton right. Welcome to the show.
And here's Gordon Graceffo, right-handed pitching prospect in the St. Louis Cardinals system. Gordon, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I know it's the dog days of the season here, and appreciate you hanging out with us and talking some pitching.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
So, I mean, obviously, I want to kind of just start with this year, and then we're going to kind of go backwards and then probably circle back into moving forward because you are a step away from the big leagues. But I don't know if people know the journey. And that was something that we briefly talked about right before we hit record, where, you know, a lot of times we see the prospects, we see the prospect rankings, and, you know, of course, you're near the top of all the Cardinals rankings. So we just kind of assume, oh, yeah, this guy's probably had a nice smooth path, you know, first round pick, flies to the top of all the prospect lists. And you know, I think more and more as we see, there's just so much talent in baseball across the board that a lot of guys slip through the cracks, or a lot of guys just have this massive gain that they enjoy, you know, kind of later in their collegiate career. You rode that into a lot of success in the early going, and then now you're one step away from the big leagues. But AAA seems to be a really interesting test for big league or for prospects because the zone gets tighter, the hitters are more disciplined, and maybe some of the stuff that worked before doesn't quite work as much now. What's been your biggest adjustment so far? And you know, how has the season been going in your eyes?
It's been great so far. I mean, just getting up to AA last year, you said, and then starting Memphis this year, you kind of think, well, maybe it's not that much different. It's only a separation of one level, but I mean, it's totally different. There's a lot of guys in this level that have a ton of big league time, and they're veterans, and they have these great approaches, and they stick to their approaches, and you're not going to beat them at that. And you kind of just have to figure out how to sequence those guys and how to pitch to them. And they're just really, really good players, and they have a ton of experience in this game.
So, and that's the interesting thing too, because, you know, you were a guy that I think, you know, just point blank just knew how to pitch. You know, obviously that was a big thing that scouts loved about you. That's a big reason why you got drafted. And, you know, when you got into pro ball, I think you pretty much overpowered guys, or just kind of outclassed them. I felt like in high A, you know, just the way you were able to, you know, pitch to a 0.99 ERA and 8 starts. And then you get up to double, continue to put up solid numbers there. But of course you can't just bully hitters quite to the same level because like you said, they're more advanced. Did you feel like there was a bigger jump between high A and double, or has it been double to triple here with just kind of the mind games and the battles that you have to have here with these hitters?
Going into AA last year, I didn't think there could be more of a learning curve coming into this year, but I think it's tougher here just because of that experience that all these guys have, it seems like. And like every lineup, it's either top prospects, and it's a majority of veterans and top prospects. And these guys, they're just great baseball players. They're great hitters. And it's in AA, you see like this overwhelming talent, and the lineups are filled with prospects, but some of them are young guys, and you can kind of like outsmart them. Here, that's not the case. Like you have to focus the entire game, and you have to kind of key in on maybe a small weakness of a guy and not go away from that. And it's a lot tougher.
So what's kind of been that, you know, now more individual to you, you know, because of course you're also just trying to be the best version of yourself while trying to get these advanced hitters out and rise to the level. What's been the focus for Gordon Graceffo now getting to AAA? Because again, you've flown through the minors very quickly here, and you know maybe there's a few things you were still working on AA that carry over into triple, and then new things that you may identify as you face more challenging competition. What's been your focus this year as you just try to prepare yourself to be ready for that big league call up whenever it comes?
I mean, just continuing to fine tune my stuff and stay consistent. It's been, you always have that one thing every start that you try to learn from, and you try to make better the next time you go out there. But I mean, I could probably take one thing from every appearance I've had that I would take and try to improve on. But I'm just trying to stay more consistent with my stuff. Just try to get everything to do what I wanted to do every time and put it in the spot it's supposed to be.
So kind of going backwards now, because again, your story is a fun one, and you're somebody that really enjoyed a massive breakthrough, I think, and it happens a lot, especially as your first year in college. There's a lot to learn, there's a lot to adjust to, and but the way you came back in that second year, what really clicked for you? You obviously got the opportunity to pitch as a freshman, which I'm sure was huge, whether it was to the way you wanted to or not, but you learn a lot, and then you're able to come back in the next year and just be lights out. What clicked for you in between that freshman year and then going into that sophomore year and then moving forward from there?
Yeah, I think it started freshman year. I mean, just being thrown into the fire, I think, really helped me a lot. And like maybe didn't pitch as well as I wanted to, but just gaining that experience and being able to move on to a really good summer league after freshman year. And I threw like 120 innings freshman year, and I don't know if a lot of freshmen really did that. And just gaining that experience coming into sophomore year, I felt way more confident in my stuff. I kind of came into my own. I was on my own program all summer, and I think it made me a lot better. And just a lot of the guys I played summer ball with, they were older guys, and they helped me through a lot of the stuff that I needed to be helped through. And I mean, coming back sophomore year, I was extremely confident and I was ready to go.
And that was kind of pre stuff ticking up, right? Like that was more just you learning yourself and how to pitch, right?
Yeah, definitely.
When you saw that tick up, was that more towards the end of your collegiate career where you really started to see things jump, or where did you start to see like the stuff just kind of hit another level?
So I saw a big jump during COVID, like when the season shut down, and I went home. I worked a lot with my private pitching coach at home, and we kind of picked up some mechanical things and kind of made my delivery more consistent. I was able to gain more momentum down the mound, and that helped a lot. And I saw an uptick in velocity, and that kind of translated to an uptick in stuff. And pitched at a local summer league that year, and felt really good about it. And came in junior year, and everything took off.
So that 2020, because there's so many players that, fortunately for you, that wasn't your draft year, but there's so many guys that had that like clicking moment, and then the season gets cut short and they don't get that chance to bolster their draft stock. But again, it's all relative, and you were in the midst of that breakout in 2020. It seems like, right? You had, what was it, 4 starts, you were 4-0, 25 and a thirds innings. You had pitched to a 1.42 ERA, so you had to feel really good. How tough was it to get that season kind of cut short there when you had that momentum? Or do you kind of attribute that, like you said, being able to go back and get in the lab and work as almost a silver lining out of all of it?
I mean, in the moment, it was brutal. I remember being at practice like the day before a midweek game, and we were all in shock. And obviously you feel like there's nothing you can do, and like you kind of just have to deal with it. But I mean, it sucked. But yeah, I mean, I would see the personal development as a silver lining with everything. I don't think I would have been able to make those changes had the season gone on. I kind of would have had to just grind through what I was doing at the moment. So I mean, it's a give and take, but it was definitely a bittersweet looking back on it.
So you come back, eager in 21 and do what you did. But again, the thing that stands out to me is you talk about the work that you put in to be able to kind of get more out of yourself and tap into more velocity there. But what stands out to me is that the velocity kind of went up as the year went on. So was that something of just you kind of figuring out how to convert what you learned, in those bullpen sessions into games more and more as the year went on? Or was that you just physically building up more, as you got more innings under your belt? Cause it just seemed like it was just up and up and up, just straight upward arrow in the velocity and stuff, department.
Yeah. I mean, so playing baseball in PA in like March and April, it's not the best weather. So, that might've had a little bit to do with it, but, I think I just got more comfortable as the year went on. I think by Big East play, I was kind of 100% ready to go. Just kind of completely trusted in myself, was really confident in my stuff. And I think it showed.
So you were, again, that had that breakout year there. And again, you didn't get to boost that stock in 2020. So you go to the Cape, and, with the way things are structured now, the draft is later, to where before you couldn't really boost your stock on the Cape because usually it was right around the draft or right after.
Mhm.
Now the draft is a month later and you can go out there, get a couple starts under your belt, and maybe, have a last ditch little effort there to show scouts and evaluators, what you're capable of. And that's exactly what you did. You go to Bourne and you throw, was it 13 innings, 3 starts, you only give up 1 earned run in that span. That must be a really interesting experience, given that the draft is coming up. I'm sure you felt maybe that you had a little bit of a safety net, knowing that you could always go back for your senior year. But what was your mindset going to the Cape, knowing that, hey, I want to get drafted here, but I could also go back to school and it's not the end of the world?
I think I just wanted to show people that I could compete at that high level with those guys that played in the Power Five, the SECs, the ACCs. Even though I went to Villanova, which is not known for baseball. We're a great program, great coaching staff, great players, but it's not known for baseball.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to show I can compete at that level, and that team that I played on in Bourne was unbelievable. Like those guys, I was probably up until probably last year, that's probably the best team that I had ever played with.
And did you feel like that almost just like kicked it into another gear for you, being surrounded by those guys, and also, seeing yourself have success? Like, what did those like first couple innings feel like once you're starting to carve through some really good hitters? You knew you belonged there, like you said, but was there like a moment of like, I really belong, when you started to churn out these quality, innings, and then turned into quality starts, and then 3 in a row, and all of a sudden, you've got all the helium in the world?
Yeah, definitely. I think it gives you a ton of confidence when you see those guys that you're out there competing with, and it's funny because a lot of those guys get drafted too that year, and then they go on to play in low A, just like I did. So you see them a couple months later in July and August, and it gives you that confidence no matter what, that you can compete at whatever level you're at.
And was there any difference? You're a guy that hits his spots, works east west,
Mhm.
having that wood as the opposition instead of the metal bats. Did you feel
Mhm.
like you could kind of get away with a little bit more, or maybe on the flip side, exploit that a little bit more with wood?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely love to see some bats break when you're out there. It's kind of it's like a little personal win.
Yeah.
But the goal is the same every time. I just want to get outs, get the offense back out there as quick as possible, and kind of help my team win.
So kind of going back into the direction of where you're at now, and where you were able to kind of get over the last 2 years specifically, because I think last year also seeing you get to the upper 90s with your stuff, and touching 100 at points. Was that something that you ever thought you had in the tank? And something that you ever thought you'd be able to do, with just being able to flirt with the upper 90s, triple digits like that?
I thought that if I kind of got an off season, like a full off season, that I could just devote to baseball and kind of do everything I could to get to that next level. I thought I could do it. And I really attribute that to the guys at the Annex Sports Performance Center where I went my first full off season. They got me right. I put on about 20 pounds. I was training different than I ever had before. I gained weight, but also got faster. I was more agile, more athletic. Like it was a crazy transformation, and it paid off. And I would do it 1,000 times over.
So, and now this year, the stuff is right there, but maybe like a slight half tick below there. Is that like an effort to be stretched out and kind of maintain velocity deep into starts? Like, again, because it's a lot for pitchers to have that big jump, and then all of a sudden you're trying to
Mhm.
almost rein it in a little bit, and
Mhm.
be more efficient and effective. Is there a calculated effort to operate a little bit, at a different level here in terms of velocity and stuff?
Not really. I think I'm just trying to focus on like being a little more like just trying to honestly just focus more and trying to hit my spots better, like and not just go out there and like be a thrower. Like
Hmm.
you kind of hear all these guys talk about the differences between a thrower and a pitcher,
Hmm.
and the guys that kind of just throw hard and want to put it in the zone. I want to be able to hit that spot and do that at a high level and get to that velocity at that spot. But it's a learning process, and it's I gotta trust it, and kind of every time you go out there and you're looking for like a little tick more, tick more. But as I just at the same time, I just want to go out there and help my team win. So
100%. And you've done a good job of that. And breaking into the arsenal too, because the slider is such a fun pitch because it's one where you see the swings that guys get at it, and it just screams like, I thought this was a fastball.
Mhm.
What is it about what you do that makes it seem like it's a fastball until so late? Because a lot of sliders that have the whiff numbers that yours have are like crazy, big time horizontal break and all that. For you, it's sharp, it's short, but like it just looks like a fastball, I guess, until it's too late. How do you
Mhm.
do that? For open-ended question there.
I think I just throw it at the same intent as my heater. I mean, you kind of try to do that with every pitch because I mean, if the hitters will notice if your body does anything different that it wouldn't do when you throw a fastball, but just kind of throwing it with the same intent and just kind of putting it in that one little spot that I would try that I think it operates the best at.
Do you have I wish should have told you to have a baseball before. I would have loved to ask. Like, is it one of the, because I know some people kind of hold it differently, grip things differently. Is it more of the grip and you throw it and just kind of let the grip take care of it, or is there like a specific feel that you try to have when you're snapping it?
Definitely just try to let the grip take care of it. I mean, I'm not trying to be super perfect with it. I mean, if I could just aim down the middle every time and kind of let the grip do its thing and let the pitch move, I mean, I would be totally fine with that.
That's awesome. And then moving on to like the other parts of the arsenal, because again, the fastball is continued to get better, and you locate it so well. And you've shown the curveball and the change of the curveball has like that downer break, and can be a really awesome pitch for you. And then the changeup is like so many pitchers continues to be a focus for you to work on and give you that fourth pitch. How's the
Mhm.
progress of that third and fourth pitch for you? And what have been your focuses with that? And what do you need to kind of get it? I don't know. The slider is a high standard, but to get it
Mhm.
like close to that slider, because obviously that pitch is so darn good.
We're working on it. I think every day is different. I mean, I could go out there every start and I have something different every time. Whether it's my fastball command is the best it is that day, or my curveball is the best off speed I have that day, or the changeup is like it is what it is, and I'm just trying to get on the kind of the same page with myself every time I go out there and be like, okay, I want to try to have all four and get all four working because if that happens, I mean, who knows what the possibilities are. But the
Yeah.
other two pitches, they're coming along.
Is there one that you kind of feel a little bit more comfort with, or is it really like you said, kind of start to start, where some days the changeup feels there a little bit more than the curveball, some days it's the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, it's been different every start this whole entire year, which I mean is part of the reason why I might not have had the success that I've wanted to have so far. But I mean, when I'm able to put all that together, I mean, we'll see what happens.
I think everybody's excited for when that happens, because again, I mean, the command of the entire arsenal is impressive, and what you've been able to do already to this point. Just a couple more questions here. I see a golf set behind you over your
Hmm.
left shoulder. Are you a big time golfer? And is that something you do in the off season? Is that something that you kind of do to decompress during the season? How does that fit in?
So I mean, I enjoy it a lot. I'm not the best. It could definitely use some work, the golf game. But I mean, we like to go out and do it on off days, just kind of just take a break from baseball, do something else a little competitive. But yeah, it's mostly an off season thing. But it's getting a little hot out here to go golfing on Mondays.
I don't believe that anybody that doesn't make a living off of golf is necessarily very good at it. But
Hmm.
if there's anyone that's pretty good, it tends to be the professional pitchers, from what I've
Hmm.
seen. And it makes sense. It's like a rotational thing. I know
Yeah.
Scherzer was kind of training with golf over
Hmm.
the last couple of years a little bit to get his body right. Is there anything else that you like to do off the field to kind of decompress and unplug from baseball a little bit?
So this year in particular, a lot of the guys on our team, we kind of started playing Call of Duty together, and
Yes.
that's something we do when we come home from the field, and that's pretty fun. That's a good time, and it this group is very tight knit here in Memphis, and I didn't think I would really have that in AAA because you kind of hear about the the veterans that are just trying to get back to the big leagues, and
Yeah.
like maybe it's not the best environment, it's a little bit individual, but I mean this group is great, and we spend a lot of time together, whether it's golfing or Call of Duty, and we love it.
that was going to be my next question because, I hear the same thing from a lot of different players. It's just kind of like it's like the appetizer to the full-fledged business that is, Major League Baseball, but you never know. And there's some Major League Baseball teams that are the same way as well. This team is extremely talented, first of all, but the other side of it is, with some of the struggles at the big league level, injuries and things like that, it's kind of been a bit of a revolving door. Like guys go up to the big leagues, then come back. How has that dynamic been? Like, especially with your catcher, like Ivan Herrera, who's been so awesome this year, goes up to the big leagues, looks pretty good, comes back. Like it's got to be a little bit interesting with that dynamic because in single A, double A, guy gets promoted, you're probably not seeing him again unless you go up with him later on. How's it? What's it like with guys going back and forth so much? And obviously, you guys have a good clubhouse, like you said.
Yeah, it's definitely tough on guys. Just kind of like that unknown. When you go up, obviously you're over the moon about it, and it's amazing. It's a great day. Everybody's congratulating you, but that back of your head, like, oh, maybe I am going to be back, and it kind of puts a lot of pressure on you because you kind of feel like you have to perform at every chance you get. And a lot of these guys, they go up and they don't play a lot. They get a couple ABs, and it's tough to see pitching after a couple of days of not playing, and then they're back down here. And but it's tough, and it's been cool to see a ton of guys go up and get the opportunity. But I mean, when they're back here, they're not bitter about it. They're just kind of here, and they're still working, and they're ready to go.
I have to ask you about the youngster in the clubhouse, Mason Winn. What he's doing right now, man. I mean, he's on a heater of all heaters. What have you seen from him? I mean, 21 years old in that clubhouse. You talk about some like big league vets. He's probably 5-6 years younger than some of the guys there, but just what he's doing purely on the field right now is absurd. What's it been like watching that from the dugout or the bullpen or wherever over the last couple of weeks? And what have you seen from him?
He is a freak of nature, man. He impacts the game in more ways than I've ever seen anybody do it. I mean, just in the base running side of it. I mean, he'll go first to home on a double in the gap, a routine double, and it's like in a blink of an eye, and it's the craziest stuff to see. But he impacts the game with his glove, his legs, his bat, like anything you could think of. He's right there, and he does it at a high level, and it's incredible to watch.
I don't want to take anything away from pitchers because there's a lot more to pitching than just throwing hard. But do you think that guy could come in and like close games out? Like I've seen some clips of him at like 99. Like it is pretty impressive. But no, jokes aside, like what's it like watching someone behind you being able to whip it like 100 miles an hour across the diamond? It's got to be pretty absurd.
It is insane. It helps a ton, especially on those throws home where he's the cutoff and you're trying to throw a guy out of the plate and it's a close game. But his arm talent is unbelievable, and it's nothing like I've ever seen. And he talks about getting on the mound all the time. And he'll joke around with all of us being like, "Oh yeah, I can come take your job right now if you want me to."
Yeah, I saw your face when I said it. That's why I was like, "Oh yeah." But that's the attitude that you expect from the 21-year-old in AAA who is making it look easy sometimes. But yeah, there's a little bit more than the 99. And unfortunately, there's pitching is damn hard as you've kind of talked about here. Last real question for you here is, you kind of touched on it, but maybe if there's something beyond that, focuses for you going forward. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the mound. It can be, mentally. I think that's a part of the game that I'm really appreciating in the conversations that I've been fortunate to have with players like yourself who have had success, a ton of success, but also, to have to get to the pinnacle. Like there's still more ground to cover. It's hard. And I don't think people realize the mental side of it as well. What are some focuses for you, maybe from the mental side and your approach to the game? I love hearing Call of Duty and golf. Like those are all things I think every human needs to decompress from their 9 to 5. What's kind of your focus on the mental side, maybe going into, the end of the year and, hopefully a big league call up pretty soon?
I mean, like you said, the mental side of things, it's something that's not talked about enough, I think, in this game. But this year I kind of had to deal with my first real injury since, I guess, high school. And just that took a mental toll on me. And I mean, you're on the shelf for 6 weeks and you just kind of sit there and you watch your team compete without you. And you kind of feel like a little hopeless. And it's like, oh, will I ever get back? Will I ever get back to normal? And you deal with those little like mental blocks while you're coming back, but you kind of just have to trust the process and have faith in yourself and have faith in the training staff and that they know what they're doing. And just kind of come back and be ready to go once we get back. And that was one thing I never really had to deal with until this year. And knock on wood, I hope I don't have to deal with it ever again. But I mean, everything's a learning process. So I mean, I'm just trying to take the positives from it and just kind of deal with the things as they come.
Sorry, one follow up on that, because I wasn't going to really bring it up because, I just like to have positive energy when it comes to that stuff, especially with pitchers.
Yeah.
But it was a shoulder thing, and I know shoulders can just kind of be frustrating because it's not as cut and dry as elbows. But sometimes if it's just inflammation, you can kind of take care of it. And like you said, you got back and you felt good. But was there something you maybe altered to your routine? Was there something that I'm sure you were already working as hard as possible before that, so it's not a matter of that, but is there maybe a way that you learned to go about something differently, or was it just one of those things that you can't control it and it is what it is? Because I think that's another fascinating aspect of it too, is injury prevention, what you can control, what you can't, what you understand. And, maybe is there anything you learned from that experience beyond that?
Yeah, I would say definitely just taking a lot of the stuff that I had in my strength program during my rehab, and just kind of building it into my daily routine. Just kind of keeping the stuff that I needed to get strong a couple months ago, and kind of keeping it strong. I mean, we did a ton of like different mobility stuff with a bunch of different areas of like around the shoulder, and just kind of keeping that stuff mobile but also strong is helped me a ton.
And 4 of your last 5 starts have been really darn good. And coming off of a really good start against a good Iowa lineup where you went 5 2/3, 1 run with 4 strikeouts. What has gone right for you, kind of in those 4 starts, and how do you build off of that moving forward as we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm just trying to stay consistent. I'm just trying to be able to throw all my pitches for strikes and just kind of go right at these guys. I mean, at the same time, when you're facing talented lineup, talented hitters, and guys that have been around, I mean, you can't give them much credit. You kind of just have to go out there and do your thing. And I mean, a hitter's a hitter, and you take the scouting report and you use what you want, and you go out there and you just attack guys.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on with us here, and best of luck the rest of the way, man. It's been fun to watch you go. Glad you're back on the mound consistently here and building up, and pumped to see you finish strong here to this season, and best of luck.
And I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.